A very good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. I'm joined by James, and I'm delighted to say that we are going to be discussing yesterday's fantastic, much-needed win at Goodison Park. Everton 1, Chelsea 0, in what was a game for many people's make or break, I think, wasn't it? A lot of attention has been on results out of our control, I think it's fair to say, namely the Burnley games and more recently Leeds' fixtures having a great effect on what we do. So it was very important that we got 3 points yesterday, wasn't it, James? So thanks for coming on the stream with us. Just first of all, initial reactions to that huge result for us yesterday.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, it feels huge, as you say, with the results of Burnley and Leeds after the day before. So it was just massive as a game that I think, as much as a lot of people probably didn't want to say it, it was kind of must win. We had to keep the momentum. We had to keep it in our hands, and for such a tough game on paper, I thought we handled it absolutely perfectly, and it was from minute one arriving at the ground, sort of hours before kickoff to getting home. It was just perfect. Great day for us, and I really hope that's kind of the big push that we needed now to make everyone believe this is really possible.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. But one thing that was made of going into the game was, of course, the greeting of the coach beforehand and all the blue flares and everything like that. How much of a bearing do you think that had on the result? Because I think the jury was out a little bit, wasn't it, as how many people would turn up? But I was definitely surprised and taken back just how many people did welcome that coach.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I was on an hour whether to go. I think same as you, because I wasn't sure whether and a lot of people were going to go, whether it was going to be kind of like what it ended up being or whether it was going to be a bit of a damn squib. But I couldn't believe it when I turned the corner onto the William Hill, and there was just there was hundreds of people there by the time I turned up, and that was still about 11:30, 11:45. So by the time the coach pulled up about 25 to 1, it was just rammed, and there was I don't know how many people was there, but it was mental. I've never seen anything like that before, and I think it definitely had a bearing. I think it just kind of, as you can see from the videos on the coach, other than Fabian Delph, everyone seemed to be loving it and was like thinking it was pretty cool. And I think it's a kind of moment that I really want Everton to be involved in for the right reasons, but it's like it is for now. And I know I'll probably come on to it, but I kind of hope it stays for the next 2 games. We can get the players up for every game, whether it's a big game against the big players, whether you're playing against a team you really should be beating. They're the kind of games you slipped up on. So I thought it had a big bearing on how the players started the game and what went on in the ground before the match started. And then the team responded to that, straight away, winning a free kick and on them the first half. And then we get the goal, and it kind of felt perfectly for us. But yeah, I think it had a big bearing on how the players felt, certainly to be in the game anyway.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I just want to pick up on is, just staying with the fans is, a lot of people are quite quick to quote it as cop-like behaviour, if you like, with all the flares and everything, agreeing the coach. And I think that's something which Evertonians have been sort of, a bit of a situation where you cut your nose off to spite your face a little bit. But I think in this situation that we're, I think it was quite refreshing for the fans to just give it a go, and it seemed to work, didn't it? And would you be in favour of seeing that sort of thing going into the next 2 home games? I certainly would, if it's going to get us similar sort of results.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've never had any problem with the other lot doing it in terms of, greeting the coach and creating a bit of an atmosphere. I think the main thing people had a problem with was when they were bricking the Man City coach and absolutely destroying it. That was kind of like, that was a bit pointless. And obviously I'm glad, I was a bit worried that was going to happen. I didn't know where the Chelsea coach was going to come from, but obviously because they're down by the park end sort of side, obviously I'm sure they probably got there around the time that our coach is going through and no one had any issue or any bother with them. So I think that's kind of the thing I've not enjoyed about it, but I've been absolutely in favour of the other lot doing it. I've been quite jealous really watching them in big Champions League games before. It's I say it wasn't the right reasons, but I'd absolutely keep it for the next 2 games. I think with being the night match, the atmosphere should be electric anyway, but I just think those are going to be the 2 games that are really going to sort of get us over the line. I think if we are to do it, do everything we can, absolutely. I see no reason why not. And then if we get success there, who knows whether it's going to stick around for next season, see what division we're playing and see kind of how the summer goes or whatever. But it's something that I was a big fan of, and I think Lampard, I just watched the video of him talking about it after the game, and he seems to be a big fan of it as well. So for as long as it works, I'd absolutely be keeping it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It just shows how much, I think what's got to be said as well is, I think it just shows that a lot of fans are just not willing to just take this, especially after that Burnley game. And there's been a lot of situations where people thought we were down and out, but just showing that we can, how the difference the fans can make, I think was quite evident to see. It's funny, isn't it? Just when we think that we're out, that we're down and out, they seem to pull out some kind of result, don't they? And just looking at the relegation picture as a whole, how do you sort of see it panning out now after that? We know the Leeds were beaten by Manchester City, and they've got two really difficult fixtures coming up against Chelsea and Arsenal. So, are you a bit more confident about our survival hopes, or do you feel like this was not out the woods just yet?
Oh yeah, we were definitely out of the woods. Yeah, I think in terms of, I can't believe Leeds are still in trouble because I felt like they were winning every week. Obviously, I know that probably wasn't the case. I think the results probably weren't quite as good as it felt like, but just felt like they were picking up points and they turned a bit of a corner. They were getting players back from injury, and it just felt like they were long gone. I thought Newcastle were long gone. I think like Villa and Southampton's been overestimated how much trouble they were truly in, and it really looked like a sort of a direct shootout between us and Burnley. But and I was always worried, for crap as they have been, I was always worried Watford were going to come back into it, to be honest. But they're out the picture now. Leeds are very much in trouble, and I think it's perfect for us because we beat Chelsea and they're going to still really need to sort of qualify for the top four. They felt like they're kind of sewn up, but I think even with the games in hand, the obviously the heavy favourites going to the top four, I'm sure, but the form Arsenal and Tottenham have proved they can be over the last few weeks. I wouldn't be so sure. So now they're going to get a result at Leeds. You'd think, obviously, Arsenal want to keep the momentum, get a big home win against Leeds as well. They'd enjoy that, obviously. And Stuart Dallas getting injured as well is massive for Leeds. And I think Liam Cooper's still out, Patrick Bamford. So it's just unpredictable because I didn't see Burnley sacking Dyche. When they did, I certainly didn't see the results they've had coming their way. So it's just impossible to predict. And we've sort of sat by for the last couple of decades really and kind of watch these relegation battles and kind of going, wow, I just can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe this is happening to these teams. But it is what happens when you're down the bottom because just weird things happen. So I'd love to just think we can kind of get clear over the next few games that can end up being between Leeds and Burnley. That's kind of what I think obviously we're all hoping for, obviously. But there's probably more twists and turns. There's probably more agony for us coming yet. So we'll wait and see. But I feel like, and I just hope we've got enough to sort of get over the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a side note, I think my audio has a few issues. Is my audio coming across a bit dodgy for you as well, James? Is it? Yeah.
No, it's all right for me, I think.
I'm just going to jump off the stream for just a moment. I'm just going to try and sort my audio out. So if you could just read through a few comments and then just get people's thoughts on them, I'll be back to you as soon as I can. Just want to sort out this audio, mate.
Yeah, sure. Sounds. Right, I'm seeing Eugene here saying we'll do a bit of a great escape. I'm not sure it's going to be quite as major as that just yet, but we'll see. Else we've had these games in hand, haven't we? So it's kind of felt like it's in our hands. Yeah, when saying Jack was going to beat Watford away, I mean, if we're going to beat anyone away, it's got to be Watford. They'll probably be relegated by the time that game played as well. So it's kind of, I think, the worst home record versus the worst away record, isn't it? So I would probably imagine as well that Hodgson will probably be gone by then as well. So you'd imagine someone's going to step in from the academies. Let's just hope we can get 3 points there. If we're going to win another game away from home, it's got to be there. Pick for man of the match yesterday, absolutely unbelievable distribution, leadership, catching balls, big saves. Everything was just perfect from Jordan Pickford yesterday. Obviously, we've got over away games coming on. Everyone's talking about Watford here, but obviously Leicester on the weekend. They're going to Rome, aren't they, on Thursday? So we'll have to wait and see how they get on. You'd imagine they're going to go sort of full time, get Maddison and Vardy and Schmeichel and Ricardo and Fofana and whoever else playing in that game. So I kind of hope they win as well, to be fair, because if they win that game, they're going to be on the beach, aren't they, for the last 3 or 4 games and just kind of waiting for that final, because that's the only way they're going to get back into Europe, isn't it? So what do I think of Micho? I think he played really well yesterday, to be fair. I was pleased with his performance. I think he's been good for 4 or 5 games now, and it's kind of what I've been saying for a long time. Everton need consistent players. Like, we just haven't had any players who've anywhere near enough consistent, whether it's Decore or Keane or Holgate or Luka Dean or for a long time Jordan Pickford, or certainly a period anyway, Jordan Pickford, Yamir for his injuries at least, even Richarlison at time, but just the likes of Michalenko and Alex Iwobi over the last few games with Charles, Anthony Gordon, they're all just playing really well. And I think having that consistency is really important. I was a little bit concerned because at first, especially when you sign someone from sort of Eastern Europe, you're always a bit worried how they're going to translate to the Premier League. Especially when you get them in January, or they've not played for a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever it might be. So you're always a little bit worried, but I thought he played well yesterday. I thought everyone played well, to fair. I'm sure we'll come on to it once Carl gets back. But yeah, I've just seen there about Roy Keane saying the time wasting yesterday was disgusting. Obviously, I haven't seen that, but it doesn't surprise me if you said that, to be fair. I mean, it was quite funny. I think it's one of those, you love it when your team's doing it, and you absolutely hate it when the other team's doing it. But, I've seen Lucas Fabianski and Emiliano Martinez and Jose Sarr, they pull out every trick in the book this season when we've lost a game narrowly at home, so I really don't care. I can't believe Roy Keane's come out and say that, to be fair. Somebody who's won sort of 6 or 7 Premier League titles doesn't understand that you got a time waste to kind of win games. So, yeah, no good at all. Was anyone at the game yesterday? Did anyone go to the coach thing beforehand? I thought it was really good. Yeah, Schmeichel. Actually, not meant to be Schmeichel and Foster are terrible. I mean, Ben Foster got really badly injured, didn't he, at Goodison about 10 years ago now, I think, but he was absolutely terrible for it during that entire time when he played for West Brom, and then he ended up getting really badly injured. I think it was quite a knockers one. I can't quite seem to remember it, but his time wasting that day was absolutely barbaric. I think we drew 0-0 right at the start of Martinez's tenure, and yeah, he ended up getting badly injured, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, how does my audio sound now? Do I still sound like a Dalek, or do I sound all right now?
You seem fine to me, but it seems a little bit less crackly, but it seemed pretty all right to me, to be fair.
If someone could just let me know in the comments if that sounds a bit better, and then we'll crack on. Well, I've had no one saying otherwise, so I suppose we'll just carry on. Okay, it's fine now. Great stuff. Apologies for that. Okay, so James, where were we up to, mate? What were we just talking about then?
I think we were talking about just the start of the game, how much of an impact the coach made. That's what I seem to remember last talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
so.
the coach was massive, wasn't it? The fans greeting the coach was a huge thing. There was sort of like, it was almost like I mentioned at the start of the stream, didn't I? That was sort of, even though it was Chelsea, there was very much a feeling that it was win or bust, especially with Burnley grabbing that last minute winner against Watford the day before. So it was vitally important. We got 3 points, and I just hope now that can just energize the squad really, and just give us that kick we need. So we've got a really tough game next Sunday, haven't we? So just on the game itself, Yerry Mina came back into the defence, didn't he? He was rested for the derby. I think that was a great move by Frank Lampard, wasn't it? Because I really his presence was really felt in that game, wasn't it? Not just as a defence, like big as a character in the defence, but he was also really winding up the Chelsea players and getting in people's edge. You think Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, so Yerry Mina, he just reminded us again why he makes such a difference when he is fit, didn't he?
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. I mean, I've been sort of banging the drum since last season that he's our best centre-back, and I think this year's proved it more than ever. He was absolutely terrific in a game against Norwich. I think it was earlier this season. I remember a lot of people then kind of realised, he's by far our best defender because he is just colossal. I think the best teams have got that one big colossal defender, and it makes such a huge difference because it's someone who's going to lead the back line, someone who leads by example every time. Mason Holgate and Michael Keane play alongside him. I don't think Ben Godfrey's played alongside him too often. Certainly whenever those two play, they're just much better because he just leads by example. I think he's a great defender. It's just a massive shame he's always injured, and I really hope he can sort that out because whether it's just managing him properly or just getting a bit of luck as well, I'm sure that's going to come into it. Whatever we're going to do with him, I'd be delighted if he can stay and get fit and just kind of be available for 30, 31 games in the season, because at the minute I think he's played, I think it was 4 or 5 games certainly over the last few months anyway, so it's like he makes a huge difference for us, and he was so good yesterday. And it's that idea of he's winding people up, he's annoying people, he's getting people booked, he's getting the crowd up, he's doing everything like that, but then on the pitch, he's good on the ball. I think he's a lot quicker than people give him credit for. He's strong, he's tall, he's a presence in the air. He won 3 or 4 headers yesterday. I didn't think he had any sort of right to win, but he's just getting in there constantly. And I say every time Jordan Pickford went and put the ball on the floor, he was going over to him. He was congratulating him. He was calming him down. He was just doing everything. And he was just terrific yesterday. And I think if he is to stay, and if he is to stay fit, he's going to be kind of one of them who I think will be, assuming we stay up anyway, will be kind of in line to take over the armband if he is playing every week, because I think he is just kind of that character that we desperately needed this season. And if he stayed fit, we wouldn't be where we are, I don't think. So I'm really pleased he's back now, and he's going to be imperative to us from now till sort of season's end, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really good management. You've got to give credit to Frank Lampard not throwing him into the Merseyside derby, which could have, which really could have damaged him. So good management from Frank. Just on the game itself, we sort of approached the game how we've approached quite a few of our, big games recently, where we've frustrated the opposition. Very, very difficult to break down. Most of our chances came from counter attacks and set pieces or whatever. And in the first half, we did have quite a few chances. It's just a case of not really finishing them off, and we were thinking maybe was that going to be the case? We saw in the Leicester game again we had chances, but we couldn't finish them off. Richarlison most notably. But then at the start of the second half, I think it was only 2 minutes into that second half, we forced a mistake from Aspilicueta, and it's in a great move from Damari Gray, just cushions it into Richarlison's path, and it's a great finish. And at that point, you more or less got like the rest of the second half to just try and defend that lead then. And let's not forget, we had the chances to double our lead as well. But, with the 7 minutes that were added on as well, it was Everton had to really defend for the best part of 55 minutes against the champions of Europe, a 1-goal lead. So it's great credit to the boys for seeing that out, and a massive 3 points for us, which I believe that takes us on to 32 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, we're on 32 points now, having played a game less than Leeds and Burnley. So for you, James, how does the landscape look now after that? Because it seems like 1 week everyone's adamant we're going down, all hope seems lost, and then they pull out a result like that, and all of a sudden the glass starts to look half full again, especially with that game in hand, and of course that vital win. So we've got Leicester next, and then we've got Watford, and then 2 massive home games against Brentford and Palace. So how do you see this unfolding over the final few weeks of the season?
It's so hard to say. I mean, you're kind of thinking Leeds had that new manager bounce. Is that going to kind of come to an end? They got battered in the end on Saturday. I know they probably didn't deserve to lose 4-0, but at the end they did, and the table's going to show up. Their goal difference has gone down by 4. The players are going to feel like, we played relatively well there, and we've been absolutely hammered for the umpteenth time, it feels like, this season. Every club up and down the sort of country's battered them this year, and their goal difference is horrendous. And you're kind of thinking, Burnley, what's going to stop them? Have they got kind of a new manager bounce? Are that going to fade out a little bit? Are they one bad result away from heads turning? It's hard to say, but I think with us kind of focusing on the things that we can handle, it's like we're finally, for the first time since the very start of the season, we look like we could put a bit of a run together, because it was like the first 6 games, I think we lost 1, drew 1, won 4. And then we just went on this horrid run of, I think, 1 win in 15, 16 games, something like that. And it's kind of what very slowly put it into this mess. It was that run, and the fact that we haven't been able to put back-to-back wins together since the very start of the season is a huge, huge issue for us. So Sunday's going to be a massive test. As I was mentioning while you were gone there, Leicester are playing in the Conference Leagues. That's really good for us, I think. Watford should be dead and buried by the time Tuesday comes around. I think goal difference is the only thing that could keep them up right now. So long as they lose their next game, or Leeds get anything from their next game or anything, I'm pretty sure that means they're down. So that's obviously nice going into Tuesday. I imagine Hodgson will probably get sacked as well. He's not going to be there next season, I don't suppose. And if he is sacked, you'd imagine it's going to be someone like Hayden Mullins or whoever it might be in their youth academy setup at the minute going into. I'm not sure who's there now, but that's good for us. And then you say those 2 home games against 2 teams who are on the beach, are safe, are fine. A team in Brentford, who we've already beaten this season at home quite comfortably, and then Palace, who I think we owe one a little bit for the away leg and the away game, and for the FA Cup game. So I think our fixtures now, they look a lot better, and even than Arsenal last game of the season. They've already qualified for the Europa League. Are they still going to be in the Champions League race come the last game of the season? If they are, will they bottle it? If they're already qualified, they're going to be resting players. They're going to be giving some players send-offs, wherever it might be. It's really hard to say. And I mean, I'm not too sure what Burnley's fixtures are looking like, but
I know they've got Aston Villa twice, Tottenham and Newcastle.
Right, okay. So, I mean, I think Tottenham on their day look absolutely brilliant. So, I'm quite glad they have a lot of playing them on the weekend, to be fair. Villa's difficult to say because you never know what Gerrard's going to be like, and also I think they've been really bad for the past sort of 6 weeks, and they pulled a couple of results out in the meantime. And then Newcastle, it's hard to say again. Well, they'll be on the beaches by then, but you'd imagine they want to sort of give a good send off there. I think that game's is that game at St James, is it? Or is it? I think it might be at Turf
It's last game of the season at Turf Moor, I think.
Turf Moor, yeah, I think so, yeah. And then obviously Leeds, we say they've got Chelsea and Arsenal, which are just really tough games anyway. I know we've just beaten Chelsea, but even that kind of makes the game even tougher for them because they're going to be fighting for getting into the top four. And then I say Arsenal are right in that fight too. I think they've also got Brentford, haven't they? So it's so hard to predict, but I just think the way the fixtures are falling for us, these next four, we really could get 12 points out of it, which would just be unbelievable. And that would mean we've won 5 games in a row, which is unprecedented. But each way you kind of put it on paper, so long as you get sort of 7 points from it, 10 points from it, whatever, we should be absolutely fine. So we just got to attack these next 4 games of kind of all the fight we put into the essay. And I was saying to the fellas I was sat next to at the game, I was like, it doesn't really matter what the score ends up here, because when we were 1-0 up, and I sort of said, we put 75, 80 minutes together here of just being really good and really solid. If we do that against Palace or Brentford, we should blow them away by 2 or 3 goals. Like, that's the kind of ideal. And it's the players just got to keep going. And as I say, that's why I think that doing the coaching for the next 2 games at Goodison could be really important as well.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on a really good point you made there, James, actually. You said at the start there that it almost seems like we're best placed to put a bit of a run together than we have been all season. And I'll agree with that, because it almost feels like, despite how terrible, results may not have been the best, but I don't know if you feel the same, but at this moment in time, I feel like Everton are probably in the best form that we've seen since August. I go as far to say, because, okay, we got beat against Liverpool. I don't think that was a free hit. I don't think many Blues expected to get anything out of that. But the performance was something to be proud of, I think a lot of people would say. And then you look back to, the results against Manchester United, a point against Leicester, we take our chances, we could have beat them. We're unbeaten in our last 3 against Goodison, or at Goodison. Was the Man City game after the Newcastle game? Or was it before?
They've all rolled into one a bit, haven't they? No, I think the City game was before Newcastle, I think.
So that would be Newcastle win, Man United win, Leicester draw, Chelsea win. So that's 4 games undefeated at Goodison Park. That's 10 points. And it's, you're looking at it, and we seem to be, I know the situation we're in, but Goodison Park seems to be a bit of a place, a bit of a happy hunting ground for us again, which is something we've not been able to say for quite a while. And, this can only breed confidence, wins against Manchester United, points against Leicester with a last-minute goal, big win against Chelsea. And you all of a sudden going into that game against Leicester and Watford, 2 away games. And we know we've been dreadful all season, but away from home, that is, that you sort of going into these games thinking we've got half a chance. And if we can get at least a point, I know Eugene has said the away game against Leicester is a must-win. I'd be quite content with a point there at Leicester. We can even come away with a point against Leicester and then go into that Watford game and really go for the kill. And, there's another 4 points on the board then. And, we've got that game against Crystal Palace, the game at hand as well. We can really put ourselves in a really good position here, because you also think about Leeds, which we just mentioned, their games against Chelsea and Arsenal. They're going to be really difficult for them, especially, Chelsea will not want to lose 2 on the bounce, will they? Especially with losing to us, they'll want a response against Leeds. So got to be wary of that. So if we can really just keep our heads switched on and maintain this level of performance that we've seen, we've definitely got a chance of staying up, haven't we? We're definitely in with the shout and maintaining our place in this division. And it filled a lot of fans with confidence. But as you said, this is Everton we're talking about. And, we don't know how we're going to go against Leicester. But, you also made a good point when you said Leicester have got that semi-final second leg against Roma. I think it's 1-1 on aggregate, isn't it? So it's a tie which they're very much still in with a shout of getting something from. And, that's the only way that they're going to get any form of European football this season, because they're neither going up nor down in the league. So whether we're going to see players rested, we don't know. It means a lot more to us than it does to them. But yeah, huge game. So obviously 2 away games coming up. How do you sort of see the Leicester and Watford games going? Do you feel like we're best placed to win some away games for the first time in 9 months?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've lost some terrible away games this season that we really shouldn't have done. And we've got a little bit unlucky in some, and then for the most part we have been absolutely dreadful, haven't we? But I'd sort of say that, when a new manager comes in, I think you can get that new manager bounce, which we didn't really get. We got the win against Brentford in the cup, and then we were beaten by Newcastle, and then we beat Leeds, and it was kind of like, all right, it's not a bad start. And then it went a little bit rocky again, and people were kind of questioning whether we'd made the right decision or whatever, especially when Leeds brought in Marsh, and when they started a lot better than I thought they were going to under him. And then Burnley, they've lost Deitch, and they've been the best role they've been in for feels like a couple of seasons of managers this year. But I think you can also get it on the flip side, where when there's a lot to sort out, it can take a few games. And you see with Newcastle, they brought in Eddie Howe, and they were really, really poor stuff, and they only won 1 in 10 or something. Maybe they got beat by, I think it was Cambridge in the FA Cup, and it was kind of like, well, I'm not sure where this is going to go, whether he's going to last the season. But then things turn around, things work, and obviously they added £100 million to their squad. We've added a little bit into ours in January as well, but things can take time. I just hope what's happening now is, because since the international break, I think we've been pretty good. Burnley is a game we should have won. We capitulated, and I think Lampard kind of said that's not going to happen again. I was watching Jamie Carragher then talking about the stats, and now we've gone from wanting to play expansive pass possession-based football, which is what I think Lampard wants to do. I think he's kind of now realised, okay, I can't do this now. We haven't got the players, we haven't got the time. Let's just not risk it. Let's go back to the wall. Let's go sort of rigid back line. Let's make it hard for the other teams we're playing against. And the proof's going to be in the pudding, whether we're just doing that against the big sides or whether we're going to do it on Sunday. I don't know. So we'll see. But I think with Leicester on the weekend, they did look quite good against Tottenham in terms of they had loads of chances before Tottenham actually scored. I think they might have scored. They might have been disallowed. I can't remember. They hit the post anyway. I know that. And then obviously they ended up capitulating, but they were playing like the likes of Amati and Albrighton and Jose Perez, and it's kind of like, well, that's a skeleton squad if I've ever seen it in the Premier League. And I imagine especially if it'd be a dream if they got to pens and extra time and penalties on Thursday night, that'd be really nice. Really, really drained, and that'd be perfect for us, I think. So I think with Thursday they put out a good squad, rest sort of 8-9 players or something, that'd be great. And then Watford should be dead and buried. They're going to want to win a game before the end of the season because their home record has been dire this season, but our away record's been terrible as well. So I think if on Sunday we go and get a win, we won a few games at the King Power since they've come up, which is good. Then we're really, really well placed to get something on Tuesday. But at the end of the day, if we get 4 points in these next 2 games, that would be, well, I say that'd be fine. I don't know how the other 2 teams are going to get on, but that at the minute it feels like that'd be a fine sort of return for us at this stage of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Leicester definitely there for the taking, aren't they? The only worrying thing is, I mentioned before how this does feel like the best sort of patch of form Everton have been in, and performance-wise since the start of the season. But the fear always is that we've seen just how poor Everton have been on the road. But these massive 2 games against Leicester and Watford, they could be really telling. I mean, 6 points, and we could all, I don't want to make any brash statements, but could see us all but safe. With those fixtures Leeds have got coming up, and we pick up 6 points on the road, that would just be absolutely massive for us. But I think most people's attention is very much on those 2 games against Brentford and Palace, isn't it? Because I think after the Burnley game, I feel like a lot of people just completely put the idea of getting any more points away from home out of their minds at that point. So anything against Leicester would be a bonus. I feel like we should be beating Watford, but our hope, it's like the side with the worst home record against the side with the worst away record. So that should be a really interesting game. But then, of course, once we get next week out of the way, we're then faced with we're looking down the battle at those 2 home games with Brentford and Crystal Palace, which I think will be really difficult. It's really easy as Everton fans, as I'm sure a lot of people will agree. Wins against Manchester United, wins against Chelsea, and then how many times have we seen us come up against a side like Crystal Palace and Brentford and don't quite pick up the result that we want? It takes me back to Martinez's first season when we brushed aside all these sides. Arsenal, we battered them at home, and then I think we needed to beat Crystal Palace at Goodison to put us in a great position to qualify for the Champions League, and we just couldn't do it. So we can't afford to do that this time round. We just can't. It's our game in hand. So if the fans are going to be up for it, which I'm sure they will, greeting the coach and everything, and this since Lampard's come in, Goodison Park has just been the best it's been for a while. Albeit the position we've been in the table, you wouldn't think it, because the atmosphere and the soul Goodison Park was very soulless under Rafa Benitez, and it's definitely, if anything, it's got that soul back under Frank Lampard. So if we can continue those atmospheres against Brentford and Palace, you'd like to think that's another 6 points, but nothing's a given. We've seen that this season. You've got to scrap and work and fight for every single point, which seems to be, fingers crossed, what the pennies finally dropped and what the players are starting to finally do. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think Goodison's been it's mad because when I look back on this season, assuming we stay up, I'll look back at sort of 2 or 3 of my favourite ever moments at Goodison. The Arsenal game was just like, that would just felt so desperate. We were playing against a good team, and then the whole 27 minutes campaign, which feels like a lifetime ago now, was only sort of 3-4 months ago. Benitez was still there. The team was just crap, and we went and got a big win. Luca Dean looked like he was going to be on his way as well from the start of the game, and we went and won. And then the Newcastle game and the 99th minute winner, and the lad tying himself to the post, and the celebrations, and the fact it was against Newcastle, it was just perfect. United, I mean, COVID only played United, so I wasn't there, but again, just that kind of like release of the game before, Anthony Gordon scoring the winner, Pickford making a big save at the end, and then the weekend as well, the flares, the coat, the banners, the flag. It was just great. And as I say, it's so strange. And I mean, I think people have been saying this week, imagine what it's like when we actually win something, or when we're on the cusp of winning something, or when we're in a league title fight or whatever. And it'll be different then, because I think this is just desperation now. This is just fans just crying out for someone to do something, and you want to do everything in the book to try to make it go your way, whether it's lads putting the ball underneath their top to stop the restart, or whether it's spending hundreds of pounds on firework displays or whatever it might be. People are just desperate, and I think if we are at the top of the league, or if we are in a back end of a cup competition or something, the pressure will be different. It'll be like a nice pressure. It'll be like, yeah, this is great, this is what we wanted. But for now, everyone's just scrapping dogs of war, quite literally. Everyone's really working hard for it to make shape for us. That's why, exactly, the point you make about Palace and Brentford being banana skins, that's why I think we should greet the coach, and that's why we should treat it like any other game, because not only will it invigorate our players, I think it'll make things harder for the other team, because everyone, so many people have come out this season and said that Goodison, when it's rocking, it's just so hard to play in for an away team player, because the crowd are on top here, the players are on top here, they respond to the crowd. And I just think if we can treat those games like we do the big games, well, we should be absolutely fine, because the effort and the intensity on Sunday, it should be far too much for teams like Brentford or Crystal Palace, all due respect, but they're not the European champions. So we'll see. Dynamics of games are different. Teams like that are going to sit in a bit more. They're not going to want to have the ball as much in the go. It's going to be more on us, which might not suit Lampard, but we have seen under Lampard we can play some nice attractive attacking football. So I say we'll wait and see. But Goodison definitely has got its soul back. It's a much nicer place to be. It's a place you actually want to go to now, and that's all I wanted it to be from the start of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to treat those 2 games, those 2 home games, the final home games of the season, with just the same amount of passion as we've seen in recent fixtures, and I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. And if we can come away with 6 points there, that'll be absolutely huge for our season. And, if the worst was to happen and Everton were to get relegated this season, especially now looking back, you just reeled off a few moments there. It will really hurt, because some of the best moments in recent years, despite how horrendous this season has been from the way it go, it feels like we've seen some of the most memorable Goodison moments for some years, haven't we? Erwin said there about the dog going into the game, the flares, the greeting the coach, the last minute winners, Anthony Gordon coming into his own, fans hiding the ball, fans tying themselves with cable ties to goalposts. It's been an absolute whirlwind of a season, and if we were to go down, it will be a real kick in the teeth, because there have been some crazy moments of Goodison this season, and now we are getting into those final few games. Now we can't give up now. We just need to keep going, and if we do that, show the same intensity and the same passion and desire that the fans do, and that quite clearly translates to the players. And as you said there, James, that can work against the champions of Europe, and there's no excuses why that can't work against Brentford and Crystal Palace. And if we can do that, mixed with, fingers crossed, we can take something from those 2 away games coming up next week, then I do feel it might be enough. It might be enough, and then we can finally just come away and just reflect and see how we can move this club forward. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. I think we've covered all bases there. So big thanks, James, for joining me on the stream and discussing all the aftermath from that huge win yesterday. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and drop a like if you haven't done so already. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, we'll see you next time on the Toffee Blues. Big thanks for tuning in. And apologies for the audio issues earlier on. Glad we got that sorted as well. So thanks to James for keeping the stream going and up and running. So cheers everyone. All the best. Bye.